What if the reason your life hasn't changed isn't because you're weak, but because you're scared of how powerful you really are? I want you to sit with that for a second. Most people think the reason they're stuck is because they're missing something. Money, connections, the right opportunity. Or maybe they think they don't have enough talent. They weren't born into the right family. Or they're just not lucky. But what if none of that is the real problem? What if deep down, the thing that's actually holding you back isn't weakness at all, but fear of your own power? See, we live in a world that teaches us power is something outside of us. They tell you power means having money, status, influence, or control over other people. You look at celebrities, politicians, CEOs, and you think, they're powerful. I'm not. But the truth is, power doesn't start outside, it starts inside. And until you recognize that, life will always feel like a struggle. Here's the thing. If you don't believe you're powerful, you'll live as if you're powerless. You'll talk yourself out of opportunities. You'll shrink back from challenges. You'll convince yourself that the life you dream of is for other people and not for you. But if you're honest, you felt those moments of power before. Maybe when you made a bold decision. Maybe when you pushed through fear. Maybe when you spoke up and shocked yourself with the strength in your voice. That wasn't a fluke. That was a glimpse of what's already inside you. The problem is that society trains us to dim that power. From a young age, we're told to sit still, follow the rules, don't stand out too much, don't make mistakes. We're conditioned to play small, and the more we accept that conditioning, the more we forget who we really are. That's why so many people live on autopilot, working, eating, scrolling, sleeping, without ever tapping into the life they were designed to live. But here's the truth. Power is not given, it's recognized. And the scariest thing about discovering your power is that once you do, you can't hide behind excuses anymore. Because when you finally see what you're capable of, there's no going back to pretending you're weak. There's no more comfort in saying, I can't, or it's too hard. You'll know the only thing that ever stopped you was the fear of stepping into who you really are. So if you're listening to this right now, I want you to know something. You are powerful. Scary powerful. The kind of powerful that if you truly tapped into it, could transform not just your life, but the lives of everyone around you. And in this video, I'm going to help you understand how to access that power, how to stop running from it, and how to finally use it to create the life you were meant to live. Because this is not about motivation. It's not about hyping you up. It's about awareness. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That's why you're here, not by accident, but because something inside you is ready to wake up. So let's go deeper. Let's talk about what this power really is, why you've been blind to it, and how to finally step into it. Most people don't realize that the reason they feel small, stuck, or powerless isn't because they actually lack strength. It's because they've been trained to ignore the power they already have. From the moment you were born, the world started programming you. Parents, teachers, culture, media, everywhere you turned, you were told how to think, what to believe, and who you should be. And while some of that guidance may have been helpful, a lot of it quietly built a cage around your potential. That's why most people live far beneath what they're capable of. They're not weak. They're not broken. They're unaware. Awareness is the real key. If you can't see your own power, you can't use it. Imagine being given a supercar but not knowing how to start the engine. You'd keep walking everywhere, struggling, while the vehicle that could take you anywhere sat idle in your garage. That's how most people live their lives, walking, crawling, struggling, while the engine of their true power sits unused. And here's the uncomfortable truth. Power feels scary, because once you become aware of it, you can't unknow it. You can't go back to pretending you're helpless. The moment you realize, wait a second, I have the ability to shape my reality, to influence others, to break free from limits, everything changes. Because with awareness comes responsibility. And responsibility can be heavy if you've been avoiding it your whole life. Think about it. Have you ever had a moment where you surprised yourself? Maybe you spoke up in a room where everyone else stayed silent. Maybe you pushed through something you thought was impossible. Maybe you created or achieved something people didn't expect from you. In that moment, you got a glimpse of your real power. And if you're honest, it scared you a little. Not because it wasn't real, but because it made you realize you could no longer hide. That's what awareness does. It exposes the truth. And the truth is, you are far more powerful than you've been living. Society keeps you distracted with entertainment, consumption, and fear, so you don't notice it. Because the day you notice, the day you fully wake up, is the day you stop being controllable. So the first step is awareness. Stop assuming you're weak. Stop repeating the story that you don't have what it takes. Recognize that your thoughts, your focus, your words, your emotions, they are energy. And energy creates. The question isn't whether you're powerful. The question is whether you're aware enough to use that power intentionally. And that's what we're about to dive into. Because once you wake up to awareness, the next level is understanding where this power actually comes from, how it works, and why your emotions are the bridge between your subconscious mind and the reality you live in. Now let's talk about the science of power. Because I want you to understand something clearly. This is not mystical. It's not just positive vibes or wishful thinking. Power is real. It's measurable. And it works through principles that never change. Think about what Nikola Tesla once said. If you want to know the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. That line sounds almost poetic, but it's deeply scientific. Everything in this world is made of energy. Every object, every thought, every word, even your emotions, they all carry a frequency. Let me break it down simply. Imagine electricity. You can't see it directly. You don't see the current moving through the wires. But the moment you plug in a light bulb, the room lights up. That's how your inner power works. You may not see your thoughts, your focus, or your belief, but they are currents running through you, and when you align them properly, they light things up in your life. Your focus is energy. Where you place it, things grow. If you focus on problems all day, the problems seem bigger. If you focus on possibilities, opportunities begin to appear. Your belief is vibration. Belief changes how you act, how you carry yourself, and even how others respond to you. That's why two people can walk into the same room, one with doubt, one with confidence, and get completely different results. And your actions create momentum. Once you start moving, your energy compounds just like a rolling ball, gathering speed. It's not magic, it's physics. Energy is never destroyed, only transferred. That means every thought you think, every emotion you carry, every action you take is putting energy somewhere. The question is, are you plugging that energy into fear or into faith, into scarcity or into abundance, into excuses or into creation? That's why I say your power is scary, because once you realize it, you can't escape the truth that you're already creating your life. You're already shaping your reality with the energy you broadcast. You might not have been aware of it before, but now you are. And awareness gives you a choice. Keep living on autopilot, or start directing that energy on purpose. And this is where it gets exciting. Because when you start to understand how energy, frequency, and vibration shape your experience, you can begin to align them with God's design and with the life you actually want. In a moment, I'll show you how your subconscious mind, your emotions, and your inner frequency all connect together, and how changing what's inside shifts everything outside. You see, most people think their lives are controlled by their conscious mind, the part that makes decisions, plans, and reasons. But the truth is that conscious mind is only a tiny slice of the picture. Psychologists say it's about 5%. That means 95% of what you do every single day is run by your subconscious. Think of the subconscious as the autopilot system of your life. It's the storage room of every belief, every memory, every repeated habit you've ever had. You don't have to remind yourself to breathe, or to tie your shoes, or to drive the same route to work. You just do it automatically. That's your subconscious at work. And here's the key. It doesn't choose right or wrong, good or bad. It just accepts what's programmed into it and repeats it back to you as your reality. Now, what programs the subconscious? Repetition and emotion. That's why advertising works. They repeat an image or slogan until it sticks. That's why childhood shapes us so deeply, because experiences in those years are soaked in powerful emotions. If you were told money is hard to earn or you'll never be enough over and over, your subconscious stored it like code, and now it plays it back without you even noticing. And this is where emotions come in. Your subconscious doesn't really respond to words. It responds to the feeling behind the words. If you say, "I am rich," but you feel doubt, your subconscious doesn't record the sentence. It records the vibration of doubt. That's why affirmations don't work for some people. They say the words, but their emotions contradict them. Emotion is the language of the subconscious. Thought is the language of the conscious mind. And together, they set your frequency. Your thoughts send signals, your emotions charge them with power, and your subconscious translates that frequency into actions, decisions, and habits that align with it. Let me give you a picture. Imagine planting a seed. Your conscious thought is the seed you drop into the soil. Your emotion is the water and sunlight that determine whether it grows. And your subconscious is the soil that either accepts it or rejects it, depending on what's already planted there. If your soil is filled with weeds of fear, doubt, and negativity, your new seed struggles. But if you tend the soil, reprogram your subconscious, you can grow almost anything. This is why the Bible often talks about the heart, not just the mind. Proverbs 23:7 says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Notice, it doesn't say, "As a man thinketh in his head." The heart represents the subconscious, the emotional seat of belief. You become what you feel and believe deep down, not what you casually think once in a while. And here's where vibration ties in. Every emotion vibrates at a certain frequency. Love, joy, gratitude, they're high vibrations. Fear, anger, despair, they're low. When you dwell in low vibrations, your subconscious programs your life around survival, limitation, and scarcity. When you live in high vibrations, your subconscious attracts and creates conditions of abundance, clarity, and flow. Now, don't misunderstand me. This isn't about ignoring problems or pretending everything is perfect. It's about what frequency you choose to live from. Two people can face the same situation. One sees it through fear and gives up. The other sees it through faith and grows stronger. The same desert that looked like death to Hagar was the same place where God opened her eyes to see a well. The difference wasn't the external, it was awareness, which is a frequency of the heart. So how do you begin to reprogram this subconscious system? By combining thought and emotion on purpose. When you visualize your goals and feel the emotions as if they're already real, you're sending powerful signals to your subconscious. You're basically telling it, "This is the new program. Record this." And if you do it consistently, the old programs of fear start losing their grip. Let's connect this back to the idea of electricity. Think of your subconscious as the wiring in your house. If the wiring is faulty, the lights flicker or don't turn on at all. You can change the light bulbs. That's like changing external circumstances. But if the wiring is bad, nothing changes. The real transformation happens when you rewire the system. That's what subconscious reprogramming is. Rewiring the way your inner system carries energy. Now imagine this. Every time you dwell in gratitude, you're rewiring. Every time you forgive instead of holding bitterness, you're rewiring. Every time you visualize your desired future and feel it in your bones, you're rewiring. Over time, the subconscious accepts these as normal, and once it does, you don't have to fight for it anymore. It just flows. Here's the exciting part. Once your subconscious shifts, life feels almost unfair, like you're cheating. Opportunities show up. People respond differently to you. Ideas flow. And skeptics call it luck, but you know it's alignment. Because what changed wasn't the world around you. It was the frequency you carry inside. Jesus hinted at this when he said, "According to your faith, be it unto you." Faith isn't just mental agreement. It's emotional conviction. It's a frequency of certainty that rewires the subconscious to act as if the promise is already true. That's why miracles often followed those who simply believed. They aligned their inner frequency with God's power. So here's the challenge for you. Stop seeing your subconscious as a mysterious, hidden enemy. Start seeing it as the faithful servant that only repeats what you give it. Then start giving it better commands, not just with words, but with emotions, with vision, with consistent practice. Because once your subconscious locks into a new frequency, your whole life will rise to match it. And that leads to the next step we'll uncover: How your identity itself must shift if you want to step fully into that new reality. Because you can't hold on to an old self-image and expect to walk into a higher frequency. The subconscious and identity always work hand in hand, and that's where the real transformation happens. You are already powerful. Let me say that again, because maybe nobody ever told you this before, or maybe you've heard it but never let it sink in. You are already powerful. The question is not if you're powerful. The question is, when are you going to stop running from it? Because that's what most of us have been doing. Running. We run from responsibility, from calling, from our gifts. We tell ourselves we're not ready, not qualified, not enough. But deep down, the truth is we're not afraid of weakness, we're afraid of strength. Because if we actually stepped into the fullness of who we are, we'd no longer have excuses to hide behind. It's easier to say, I'm just broke, I'm just tired, I'm just unlucky. That story protects you from expectation, but that same story also traps you. Because as long as you pretend you're powerless, you don't have to face the truth. That God already gave you the authority to create, to multiply, to dominate, to shape your world. Look at Genesis. From the very beginning, the command was clear. Be fruitful, multiply, replenish, subdue, and have dominion. That wasn't a suggestion. It wasn't a motivational slogan. It was a mandate. Fruitfulness isn't optional. It's your design. Dominion isn't arrogance. It's your assignment. The fact that you can even imagine more, dream bigger, see visions of a better life, that's evidence that the seed of power is alive in you. But here's the uncomfortable part. The moment you accept that design, excuses die. You can't keep blaming the government, the economy, your upbringing, or your lack of opportunity. Because once you're aware of your power, it becomes your responsibility to use it. And responsibility feels heavy until you realize it's the very thing that sets you free. So let me challenge you today. What's one area in your life where you've been pretending to be powerless? Is it your finances? Is it your health? Is it your relationships? Is it your calling? Where have you been saying, there's nothing I can do, when in reality, there's more power in you than you've dared to admit? Maybe it's that business you've been avoiding because you don't think you're smart enough. Maybe it's that discipline in your body. You keep saying you can't get fit, but really you're scared of the version of you that's stronger, sharper, and unstoppable. Maybe it's speaking out, using your voice, creating content, building something that scares you. Because you know that once you start, life will never look the same again. And here's the thing. You don't need to wait for perfect conditions. You don't need permission. You don't need applause. Power doesn't need external validation. It only needs awareness and action. The Israelites stood before the Red Sea, trapped between water and Pharaoh's army, panicking, crying out. And what did God say to Moses? Why are you crying to me? Tell the people to move forward. The power to part the sea wasn't out there somewhere. It was already in Moses' staff, already in his obedience, already waiting for him to stop acting powerless and start acting in alignment. You're the same. The sea in front of you may look impossible, but the authority to move through it is already in your hand. You're just waiting for awareness to catch up. So here's my challenge. Today, right now, choose one area where you've been hiding in weakness and decide to step into power. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It could be as small as making a decision you've been putting off. It could be as bold as starting the project you've been afraid of. It could be as personal as speaking life over yourself instead of death. But whatever it is, do it today. Because here's the truth. You don't become powerful someday. You already are. The only difference between who you are now and who you're meant to be is whether you'll stop running and start walking in it. And yes, it will feel scary. Power always does. But scary doesn't mean wrong. It means you're on the edge of transformation. So my friend, hear me clearly. You are so powerful, it's scary. But the scariest thing of all isn't stepping into it. It's never stepping into it, and spending your whole life pretending you're less than what you were created to be. Don't waste your life hiding. Step up, step in, and let the world see what God already placed inside you. Because the world doesn't need another powerless person blending in. The world needs you. Fully awake, fully alive, fully powerful. And it starts today.